All right, so we've done all of our equations, we're good. So now we're moving on to inequalities. And today we're just going to talk about what it looks like to graph those. So we're going to pause on solving things for a second. We'll come back to that next lesson. But right now we're just graphing. So our I can statement is, I can graph an inequality. Okay. And an inequality is just a mathematical sentence, so kind of like an equation that compares expressions. Okay, so an equation said things were equal. Inequality means not equal or not exactly equal. So these are our inequality symbols. Okay, so this one is called the less than symbol. Okay, and some things you might see for it, we might just do like one thing. Trying to decide, how many words do you guys think you can fit in there? Basically, if it's going to get smaller, it's going to be less than. So let's just go with less than for right now. We'll talk about more words later. How about that? Okay, and then this one is the greater than symbol. And then these two are the same, but since they have this line, that's half of an equal sign. So this one is less than or equal to, which means that this one is greater than or equal to. Okay, so we'll come back to these in just one second, what type of circle it has. So when you're graphing, when you're putting an inequality on the number line, we don't just use a dot. Like remember when we would do adding and subtracting, you would just put like a dot here. Okay, there's different types of circles, filled in versus not filled in, that we use. Okay, so we're going to say that you use an open, we're going to call it open, circle when the value is not included in the solution set. Okay, so like x, so some number is greater than 0. Let's say that that was -5. -5 is not greater than 0, right? That would not be included. It's not equal. Okay? So if it does not have an equals, like these two, it's going to be an open circle. And I'll keep explaining more when we get to the actual graphing. Okay? So less than symbol and greater than symbol are going to have open circles. It's like I just drew a circle, but I didn't color it in. Okay? Then you use a closed circle when the value is included. Oh, this should say is not. So an open circle when it's not included, a closed circle when the value is included. Okay? So that's going to mean if it has an equal sign or an equal, that's going to be a filled in circle. So we're going to call that a closed circle. I drew that circle really big and now I have to color all of it. There we go. Okay. All right. So I'll keep explaining why that happens in a bit. But for now, we're just gonna get to the steps. All right, so when you are graphing an inequality, like x is less than 7, or whatever it is, on a number line, Step 1 is to determine if the circle should be open or closed. Okay? So you're just going to think to yourself, what symbol do I see? What type of circle does that mean I'm going to use? Okay, step 2, you're going to put the circle on the starting point. Okay. And then step 3, you're going to draw an arrow and like color it in so you can see it in the direction that makes the inequality true. Or if work makes more sense to your brain, you can say work. Okay? All right. So let's try it. All right, so this is x. My symbol is greater than, so x is greater than 4. Okay? So let's write that in words. X is greater than 4. All right, since it has a greater than symbol, I'm going to find the greater than symbol, and it has an open circle. So I'm going to write that it has an open circle. I'm going to draw that because I like to have the visual. Okay. All right, so then my starting point is just going to be my number. So I'm going to start my circle on 4. All right, and then we'll pause on the direction of the arrow. So let's just start there. So I'm going to put an open circle on 4. I'm going to just draw a circle on the 4. Okay, I made it like a decent size, right? I didn't make it huge. I didn't make it so tiny. I made it visible, but like it's not covering the whole number line. So make it like a moderate size. Okay. All right, and then the direction of my arrow is going to be anything that's true. So I'm going to pick points to test. Okay. So I'm going to pick, so here's my inequality, x is greater than 4. I'm going to pick a point to the left. I'm going to pick the point where my circle is, so my starting point. And I'm going to pick a point to the right of my circle. And these are our test points. Let me scooch my paper up a bit. Okay. All right, so a number that's to the left of my starting point is 0. So instead of x, I'm going to put in 0. Okay. All right, so then I think to myself, is 0 greater than 4? No, that's not true. So I don't get to color in 0. You only get to color in things that are true. Okay, let's just think about another one. What about 2? Is 2 greater than 4? No, so I also don't get to color in 2. Okay, all right, so to the left does not work. Okay. So now we have to figure out if we're going to color in our starting point. Okay, so my starting point is 4. Is 4 bigger than itself? No, that's it. Like 4 is just 4. It can't be bigger or smaller than itself. So my starting point doesn't work and I don't get to color it in. That's why I leave that circle open, because 4 is not part of the answer. It's just where we're starting. All right, and then I'm going to pick some points to the right. Let's try 5. So when I put 5 instead of x, is 5, I wrote 5, is 5 greater than 4? Yes, 5 is bigger than 4. So I get to color from my starting point to 5. Okay. All right, let's try another one. Let's try 7. All right, so instead of x, I'm going to put in 7. Is 7 greater than 4? Yes, 7 is greater than 4, so I get to color this way. And I know that going to the right, any other number along this number line is going to be greater than 4. So I'm going to draw an arrow, and that tells me that you can keep going this way. All of those numbers are going to be greater than 4. So our arrow is going to go to the right. All right, let's try another one. All right, so I'm keeping word problems fresh, keeping those in our mind. Okay, it says x is less than or equal to 7. So I'm going to write x. Then my less than or equal to sign is this one. So I'm going to draw this symbol. Less than or equal to. And then it says -7. So I'm going to put -7 here. Okay. All right, so let's start with our starting point. We're going to start on -7. So I'm going to take my inequality. Okay, and I'm going to pick a point to the left of my starting point, which was -7. I'm going to pick the starting point. I'm going to pick a couple points to the right. Okay, so to the left of my starting point is -9. So instead of x, I'm going to put -9. Okay, is -9 less than -7? Yes, it's more negative, it's less. So that works. So I get to color from my starting point to -9. Okay. All right, let's try our starting point. So instead of x, I'm going to put -7 is less than or equal to -7. All right, so is -7 less than or equal to -7? Well, it's not less than, but it is equal to. So since equal to is included, -7 equals -7. They're the same thing. I get to color in the starting point. That's why the equal to symbols get to be colored in. So this is a closed circle because it has the equal to. Okay. All right, and then I think I have a pretty good idea of which direction my arrow is going to go, but I'm still going to test it just to be sure. So let's pick a point to the right. I always like to pick 0 because 0 is really easy for me to think about. So instead of x, I'm going to put 0 is less than or equal to -7. Well, it's not, right? Negatives are smaller than positive or 0. So -7 is actually smaller. So my arrow's not going to go to the right. It's actually going to go to the left. So I'm going to draw an arrow, and that's telling me that starting from -7, including -7, anything to the left of it on the number line is going to be smaller. So our arrow went left this time. Right. So hopefully you like this. I think it's a nice kind of little break from what we've normally been doing. So you have, I think there's 8 of them. Practice problems where you're going to graph it. And I'm going to do... Let's do this one. -5 is greater than or equal to p. So I'm going to determine if my circle should be open or closed. It has an equal to sign, so it's going to be closed. I'm going to put my circle on the starting point, which is my number. So I'm going to put a circle on -5. I know, my pen is dying. Yeah. Don't worry, I have it back. And make sure you're doing this in pencil, especially for graphing. Right? I only do it in pen so that you can see it on the video so that it shows up really well. Okay? All right, so now I'm going to pick some test points. So I'm going to start with my inequality. -5 is greater than or equal to p. I'm going to pick a point to the left to test if my arrow is going to go left. Let's pick -8. So instead of my variable, I'm going to put -8. Okay. All right, so is -5 greater than or equal to -8? Yep. Right? It's more towards the positive side. That works. So I get to color in to -8. And again, notice how I drew a decent sized circle. It's not super tiny, but it's not so big, okay? And I'm drawing a kind of thick line. I'm not going crazy with it, but I'm making sure that I can see it. Okay. All right, so let's pick our starting point now. Okay, which is -5. Is -5 greater than or equal to -5? It's not greater than itself, but it is equal to itself. So I get to color it in. That's why the equal to symbols have a closed circle. Okay. And I always have to double check. I'm going to pick a point to the right. Let's pick +1. So is -5 greater than or equal to +1? No, positive numbers are bigger than negative numbers. So this doesn't work. So I only color the arrow in the direction that works or that makes it true. So these two are true, so all of those get colored in. So anything to the left makes my inequality true, and I'm going to draw an arrow. Right, so that's it. So you just have the rest of them to do, and then you got this. Think real hard about the word problem ones. Good luck.